Good morning, my beloved community.
Good morning.
My name is Barbara Dunst, and I will be your pulpit host and percussionist this morning. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And for those who may be visually impaired, and I know there are some among us, I am a mature woman with gray hair and wearing a flowered dress. It's kind of a peachy color with a little sweater. And I have been a proud member of this congregation since 2016, when I found out that despite being a professing Catholic for 60 years, I was actually a Unitarian Universalist without knowing it. And one of the many things I love about this congregation is the diversity of our backgrounds. The diversity of our backgrounds and thought and talents, and yet we are of one heart and one voice when it comes to our values. We've adopted a new way of visualizing our values, and they've been depicted as petals on a flower or as an atomic model with the values of pluralism, transformation, interdependence, justice, generosity, and equity orbiting around the nucleus of love. But for me personally, there's another image that comes to mind, and that's of a wheel, where the values are the spokes. Love is the hub and the power generator, and it drives the rim, which are our actions in the world. So that's just my little interpretation. Welcome to the Sunday worship at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Vero Beach, home of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Whether you are young or old, gay or straight, or identify in some other manner, whether you're on top of the world today, or perhaps burdens with worries of the world, we are glad that you have gathered here with us, whether in person or via technology from that mysterious place called up north. Now, if you are visiting us for the first time, we warmly welcome you and invite you to join us for coffee hour. And you just follow the crowd down the hall to the fellowship hallway, down the hallway to the fellowship hall. And we ask that you take a red mug so that we may identify you as our guest and can give you a warm UU welcome. And today I'd like to welcome back to the pulpit our very own Laura Matson, who will be our pulpit guest today. Laura is a lifelong Unitarian Universalist raised by civil rights activists during the American Civil Rights Movement. And she jokes that she learned to walk on a picket line, and freedom songs were her lullabies. We have seen her passion for politics and democracy right here as she chairs the Coalition for Racial Justice at this fellowship. She earned a Master's of Art in Organizational Leadership, and I am proud to announce that Laura was recently admitted into the Meadville-Lombard Theological Schools in their doctorate program of Social Justice Ministry and will begin her studies next month. Congratulations, Laura. And finally, be sure to keep your order of service for announcements and happenings this week, and particularly notice that our wonderful Soup for Shut-ins folk will be offering soup today in the fellowship hall. Now please silence your phones as we listen to the introit.
Happy love.
Will you please join me as we read the chalice lighting words this morning as Barbara lights the chalice? That would be you, Barbara, lighting the chalice. That was the clue. Yeah. I tried to be subtle about it, but that's just how it came out. We light this chalice for the fire of commitment to justice, equity, and compassion, for the warmth of community, welcoming all who seek truth and love, for the light of reason, guiding us forward when the way is unclear. May this flame ignite us, the courage, the wisdom to reflect, and the faith to carry this light into the world. I want to tell you a story this morning about a courageous Unitarian whose name you may not know, but whose legacy you will never forget. It was 1941 when Unitarian minister Charles Joy was the director of the Unitarian Service Committee. As Nazis were waging war over Europe, refugees needed not only food and shelter, but safe passage with documents that could be trusted. Reverend Joy came up with the idea to create fake credentials to rescue people suffering under Hitler's tyranny. In an attempt to give the documents a legitimate look, Reverend Joy hired an artist to create a symbol that could be easily recognized and placed on the phony papers to pass scrutiny. The artist drew a simple yet profound image, a cup or a chalice with the flame rising from it. The chalice represented community, where all are welcome. The flame was not a roaring fire, but a light that represented truth. This flaming chalice was stamped on the papers the Unitarian Service Committee created for passports to safety for evacuees. And it worked. Thousands of targeted people, primarily Jews, were successfully moved to safety. The symbol's power lie not only in its ancient history, but also in its urgent relevance today. It is a promise of sanctuary and chaos. At first, the flaming chalice was practical. But when the war ended, many Unitarian congregations were inspired by the story and started lighting a chalice at the beginning of worship to symbolize the kindling of spirit, the flame of truth, and our fierce commitment to acting for justice. In 1961, when the Unitarians and the Universalists joined to form the Unitarian Universalist Association, the flaming chalice was officially adopted as our symbol. Since then, congregations and committees are encouraged to add their own spin, and you can see the many different versions of the flaming chalice. The story of the flaming chalice is not just a tale from the past. It is a living call. It reminds us that our faith is not only a matter of belief, but of action. It reminds me that we are all called to carry compassion, courage, and community to this day. When we light our chalice each week, we remember those who lit it first. Justice fighters committed to ending tyranny in the world. You know, I like this story for two reasons. First, it reminds us that Unitarian Universalists did not seek to draft a symbol to represent us, but adopted a design that was a symbol of our history of service. The other reason that I like this story is because it was initiated by one person, Reverend Charles Joy, who raised his hand. He stood up And he was willing to present an idea that sparked a movement, saving countless lives in an unsafe world. It reminds me that each of us has the power in us to change the world. So this is the time that I'd like us to greet each other. If you would take a moment and look around and see if oh, did I miss the opening hymn?
Yes, you did.
Let's not miss the opening hymn. Yay, now we get to greet each other. So take a look around you. Find somebody, maybe somebody you don't know or don't know well, and shine your light on them. Yeah, I just told the story off sequence.
All right, I have one headline. After your closing words, that's okay.
No, somebody. Why are we doing that? It was what? I have to tell you that I'm an extrovert, my husband's an introvert, and the time that we have to greet each other is never enough time for me, and it's way too long for him. So, I added you, Steve. Today, before we start our stones and water ritual, we are lighting 2 candles in memory of loved ones who have recently passed. Jack Quinn was a beloved member of this congregation, and he was always willing to stand up and help wherever he was needed. Whether it was the auction, social activities, or even teaching us how to tie knots, Jack was there. Sue Moss, who we also lost this week, was a longtime member and her kind smile lit up any room she entered. She was active in Project Niños, which is a charity work we partner with to provide holiday gifts for forgotten children. Let us take a moment of silence to remember Jack and Sue as we hold their spirits in our hearts. We will have information at a later date about memorial services. So this is the time in our service where we acknowledge that each of us have come together with our own joys and sorrows, our gifts and our needs. Before Barbara is water, the very sustenance of life. Water can buoy us up, it can nourish, cleanse, and replenish us. It is the source of life that creates beauty in the very making of tears. This community is like water, the very sustenance of one another's lives. Barbara will now add salt to the bowl for all the tears that may have fallen this last week. And may we remember that there are those among us who are in pain. So let us be tender with each other, for we know not what is held in the silent sanctuary of each other's lives. And now Barbara will add some flowers to remind us of the beauty and the joy that surrounds us, and as it floats on the surface of many of our faces and enlivens our spirits. In a moment, I will invite you, those who find it meaningful, to come up and add a pebble into the water bowls. If you would like Barbara to add a pebble for you, please raise your hand. Thank you. At this time, if you would like to add a pebble for your joy or sorrow to our collective bowl of care, please come forward. may all that we offer one another keep us connected and blessed. Within this hour and within the week ahead, may it be so. Amen.
At this time, we will be taking up a collection for the food pantry of Indian River County. The non-perishable foods and toiletries you may have brought today are delivered to the Indian River Food Pantry, as well as most of the loose cash offering. The loose cash offering also finances the meals for persons in transitional housing. Our fellowship's meals team prepares and delivers meals to 3 transitional housing programs each month: Camp Haven, James Arthur Court, and Naomi's Place. These agencies provide formerly homeless persons, men and women, with interim housing. And now may we receive the offering, and let us do so generously and gratefully. And you know it's not on here. Should mention that if you want to donate, you can click on the QR symbol. So I'm kind of improvising this. The offering will now be gratefully received. Bless this offering while holding in our hearts the intentions for which it was collected. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to encourage you to join in a responsive reading that is printed in your order of service and will also be projected here. I'll read the first part and you read the bold part. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Not by chance, but by choice. Not by ease, but by courage. We affirm the worth and dignity of all people, especially when the world denies it. We commit to justice, equity, and compassion. May we be the ones who pull the ark. Oh, that was lovely. Thank you so much. I've been thinking a lot about doubt lately. Doubt is not fact. It doesn't have to be. What's really bothering me about the concept of doubt is how manipulative it can be and how powerful that manipulation is. When Hitler and the Nazis spread doubt about the Jews, they opened up a path to be able to lock up and murder anyone not meeting the Aryan ideal. Doubt allows us to look at others as non-human or subhuman, and when we see others as less than, we can treat them any way we want. And we need not question the validity of the doubt, the message gets so ingrained that it just becomes reality. In the movie Doubt, there's this great scene where the priest tells a story about hearing confession from a young girl who had spread gossip and doubt about somebody. And the priest said, okay, for your penance, what I want you to do is take a feather pillow and go to the tallest building in town. Open up that pillow and let all the feathers fly. And there's a great scene in the movie where these feathers are just like the biggest snowstorm just blowing throughout the whole city. And he said those feathers represent doubt. And now, once your pillowcase is empty, what I want you to do is go around and pick up every single feather. And that just is an image of how insidious it is to buy into and spread doubt. In the United States, we're inundated with messages of doubt for Black and brown people today. When the president says things like, when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some I assume are good people. Or when he said, in Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people come in and they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of people who live there. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. It spread the doubt. I assume people in this room don't buy it, but doubt needs to have massive belief for it to survive. All those feathers that spread that you can never pick up. One of the biggest atrocities that I see today about doubt is how DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is weaponized to cast doubt on the legitimacy of people of color. And presuming the only reason they have validity is because of DEI. I recently saw a report where somebody from the cabinet in this administration said that when he boards a plane, he looks in the cockpit to see if there's a Black pilot, because if there is, he won't board that plane. He assumes the only reason a Black pilot has that position is because of DEI, and obviously they're not qualified. I also saw an article where a toxic cleanup in a Black neighborhood was canceled, terminated, because it was in a Black neighborhood and it was labeled DEI. Now, I know that I live in a world of comfort, and I rarely have to feel the oppressive reaches of this current administration. When I was pulled over for a broken taillight, it never occurred to me that this could be the last day of my life, as it was for Sandra Bland, a Black woman. I've never had my credentials questioned based on the color of my skin or the language that I use. I've never had to worry that my birthright citizenship could be revoked, or that I could be rounded up and thrown into jail with no due process based on my race, as thousands and thousands of Black and brown people in this country are experiencing right now. I've never had my sexual orientation used to deny me medical services or prevent me from serving in the military. And I have never, ever been confronted by a Karen telling me to go back where I came from, as happens to millions of Muslim Americans in this country. It is so comfortable to stay, it's so easy to stay in our comfortable lives while being disgusted about how other people are being treated. There was an article I saw on Facebook where a woman, Jane Elliott, who's a famous anti-racist, said to a white audience, I want everybody to stand up all the white people to stand up if you are willing to trade places with and be treated the way black people are treated in this country. And nobody stood up. She said, well, I guess by the fact that nobody stood up, that you recognize that it's atrocious treatment. So if you're not willing to be subject to it, why are you willing to watch it happen? So how do Unitarian Universalists respond when these oppressive acts rear their ugly head? How do we stand up and say no? Unitarian Universalism is not a faith of quiet neutrality. It is a faith of moral clarity and active resistance. Our spiritual ancestors understood that to be faithful is to be fearless. And I think to be fearless is to embrace discomfort for the good of the cause. So what do we do when doubt raises its ugly shadow? Well, there are several things that I think of. One of them is what I call radical hospitality. I was at the General Assembly for Unitarian Universalists a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that I heard a lot is how many new people are finding their ways to our faith. Radical hospitality is a way of welcoming those new people and helping them join us and meeting the needs that they have coming in. One of the ways to do that is, as Barbara said, we ask new people to take a red mug, and radical hospitality says, members, find people with the red mugs and welcome them. Find out why they came here. Find out what brought them and what their hopes and dreams are of being a part of this faith. Another thing is to educate ourselves about the injustice in our community. Racial, economic, environmental, and beyond. You know, I have to admit, I'm always a little surprised when I hear people of goodwill say, oh, I don't watch the news anymore, it is too upsetting. And I think, no, I'd rather be upset watching the news and know what the truth is, know what's going on in the world, and motivate me to do something about it rather than just turn the TV off. Another thing we can do is show up. Come to the school board meetings. Go to rallies. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Support those who are on the front lines. How do we support activists and organizers and those most impacted by the racist, oppressive actions that are happening in our country today? It's interesting, one time I was on a plane on the way to China, and it was during the second Bush administration, and it was a Canadian airline, and the stewardess was almost spitting at us about how dare we elected this tyrant George Bush. And one of the other stewardesses said, oh, well, she didn't vote for him. Don't despair her. And the first stewardess said, yeah, but you allowed it to happen. So how do we stand up and make sure it doesn't ever happen again? And vote. And it's not, and I assume that majority of the people in this room would never miss an opportunity to vote, but it's not just about your vote. It's about encouraging and working to get other people to vote too. You're going to hear more about some efforts that are upcoming for us to send postcards to races that are happening right now in this country. So how do we spend our time, our money, and use our voices? I have some suggestions. about how our congregation can meet this moment and make a difference, especially in the lives of Black and brown people and those who are affected by oppression. The first, I want to invite everybody to join the local NAACP. They founded in 1909, and it represents ongoing, in response to the ongoing violence against Black Americans. Over the years, the NAACP remains one of the most influential civil rights organizations in the United States, and they are feeling the effects of being targeted about DEI. They need our support. Another organization that I want you all to generously support and be aware of is Faith in Florida. Now, Faith in Florida is an organization composed of primarily Black religious leaders that have been a long-time vital force in the state, advocating in areas such as public safety, housing, education, health, democracy, environmental justice. Members of this fellowship have been working with Faith in Florida, have attended training sessions that they've done, and such as Black history, anti-white Christian nationalism. They are also members of our Coalition for Racial Justice, as well as active with our LGBTQ Welcoming Congregation Committee. They need our financial support now. Some of their major funders just pulled out for fear of being targeted, of being labeled DEI. And those funders are afraid of losing government support because of it. We need to support organizations like Faith in Florida to keep their vital efforts alive in our community. Now, another thing we can do is join our pro-democracy demonstrations wearing a beautiful t-shirt that Lynn is modeling for us, as well as a sign, because this Thursday is another pro-democracy demonstration that you're all invited to. You've got the 17th, and it is on SR 60. So we're asking, so it's on the corner of 60th and 58th. Yes. You're shaking your heads, yes. And many of us are going to gather on the corner. Remind me where we're gathering. At the Target. And wear your pink t-shirts proudly. Those t-shirts are going to be for sale outside in the lobby. And our choir has put together a poster of the words to the Good Trouble song. So, and we'll pass out flyers for that and encourage people to start singing the Good Trouble song. Be there. It should be a lively event. And I know our beloved minister, Rev. Tom, will be there and would be delighted to see all of us. Another thing I wanted to invite you to is to join some of the social justice efforts that we have in this congregation. We have many social justice groups that are working in different areas, including the Coalition for Racial Justice, the LGBTQ Welcoming Congregation Committee, Green Sanctuary, and the Initiative for Reproductive Rights, as well as many more. Out on the table when you leave the sanctuary today is a list of all those committees and what time they meet. But all of the committees on that list, all the chairs gather once a month where we compare notes and see where, if anybody needs support. And we want to invite everybody to our August Social Justice Steering Committee meeting, where you can come. It's not really interactive, but you can come and see what activities we're doing and maybe figure out which committee you would like to participate in, because boy, do we ever need help today. There'll be an article in the newsletter about it. It's going to be on August 5th in the lobby, and we'll also have it online. So following the service today, you're going to have an opportunity to buy a shirt, open up your checkbook, sign up for some activities, and more. One of the activities that we're organizing is to teach Spanish, both for beginners and intermediate in this congregation, to help us support immigrant rights in our community. So there's a sign-up sheet. We haven't set the date and time yet, but there are sign-up sheets out there that I encourage you to sign up for, because we want to know, one, how many people are interested, and then what level. Is it beginning, intermediate? And then we're asking, do you want daytime meetings or not, or evening? And then we'll coordinate when and how we're going to do that. So whatever you do, please join your fellow congregants in some effort to change the world, to eliminate, to fight against the doubt as we build a new way together. Please join us. Rise as you are willing and able, as we sing hymn number 1017 in the teal hymnal, Building a New Way. May we leave this place carrying the chalice within us, the open heart, the outstretched hand, and the shining flame. In the words of Unitarian Universalist Reverend Rebecca Parker, justice is what love looks like in public. Courage is what love looks like in a crisis. And the flaming chalice is what love looks like in our collective hands. Amen. Please join us for just a moment as we have a special presentation, musical presentation.